courthouse. Not a juror was stirring. But what about reasonable doubt?
Oh.
Welcome to the Tangent Podcast. Yes, this is it. The quiet before the storm. No tangents on Friday. It's going to be a busy day with closing arguments, verdict watch, jury instructions, everything else happening in the Karen Read Retrial of the century. But the question that we have, and we're going to talk about during this program, what did prosecutors actually prove? And we're going to put it up against the elements of the crime. So many times we take a look at these cases and we're talking about things over here. We're going to talk about what they actually have to prove and then talk about what did they actually prove. It's going to be the best legal analysis this side of the Mississippi.
Ooh.
This is the Tangent Podcast. I'm Vinnie Politan, lead anchor for Court TV, along with this guy over here. Who's that? That's Al Wunsch III.
Hola, Tangenistas.
And below me, right here, this is the radio legend, the one, the only, Jonesy.
What side of the Mississippi are we on?
We are on the east side of the Mississippi. You cross over to the other side. It's the wild, wild west. I don't know what's going on out there. But what I do know is that this is the Tangent Podcast.
It's Vinnie and the Tangents, true crime podcast. Vinnie has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinnie and the Tangents, true crime podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button so we can all have a blast. Vinnie, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinnie and the Tangents, true crime podcast.
Welcome on this Thursday, closing argument eve. This is a huge day as we talk about what did prosecutors actually prove in the Karen Read retrial. It's been 31 days of testimony, evidence, exhibits, et cetera, et cetera. And like I predicted, the defense said we've got 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, and it ended up just being a few days, and then no rebuttal case from prosecutors. A little surprising. They didn't get the last word in.
Yes.
Or get the last word in the arguments. But here we are. Let's start with the big picture answer to this question. What do you think prosecutors actually proved here, Al?
I think they proved manslaughter.
Okay.
I do think that they have a solid case on that, and I think base of it that it will be based on her statements.
On her statements, the clips.
Yeah.
The clips where she talks about, could I have hit him? Could I have clipped him?
Right. You know what? Because right there, that demonstrates that there was some sort of a knowledge, okay, but maybe not a complete knowledge. I'm very surprised that I'm surprised at two things. I'm surprised she didn't testify. I think that was something that needed to be done because I think these experts are going to cross themselves out and it's going to be based on the other testimony. I don't think the experts are going to hold as much of a key in this thought process, in this deliberation in the end. I think they're going to say, you know what, 6 of one, 5 of one, half dozen of the other, it doesn't matter. Let's talk about the testimony that we heard. And that's where I think the problem is because they didn't do anything to counter her statements. And that is going to be something I think is going to come back to haunt them. I think that if she had taken the stand and, been able to explain that, this is what was going on at this time. And, I was not completely clear. I was, so upset because of this, and this, that would have humanized her.
Yeah.
In light of what she was putting out there, And I know everyone jumps down my throat about this, but that was a stupid move. And I don't care what was the thought. I don't care why she was doing it. It was not a bright move under the circumstances. And I do think they needed to counter that.
Yeah. Jonesy, big picture here. What are you taking away at this moment about what prosecutors actually proved inside that courtroom?
Beats the hell out of me, Vinny.
Oh, well, you're right with the first jury. You're right with the first jury. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Here's the way I want to approach this, right? So we kind of got a flavor for it. I want to put up here because second degree, red room. Commonwealth must prove the following elements. So this is what they need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, right? You don't have to prove every fact of the case. And sometimes juries don't understand that. A lot of times people who follow these cases don't necessarily understand that. Prosecutors are not held up to the standard of every fact that you put in front of them, they need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And if they don't prove a specific fact beyond a reasonable doubt, they don't prove the case. No, it's the elements of the crime. Sometimes those facts are significant and are needed to be proven to prove the element. But at the end of the day, it's the element. So the defendant caused the death of John O'Keefe. Well, that's up in the air, right? For that, you need the collision. So right. They've got to prove the collision, which is why that is such a big issue. And I want to begin with that, right? Because if they don't prove a collision beyond a reasonable doubt, all the charges are gone. It's a not guilty across the board. So this is the way I've broken it down. And what I want to hear from you is, what do you think is the strongest of these three roads to proving the collision? Which is the strongest argument that you've proven the collision beyond a reasonable doubt, which you must prove beyond a reasonable doubt? One, the expert testimony, okay, which would be the prosecution experts. Did that prove a collision beyond a reasonable doubt? Did her alleged confessions, whether it's at the time, hold on one second. Just checking, just getting an email from work. Sorry, text message.
Nope, no problem.
3D House of Jones.
Okay. The experts. Second, the admissions, which can be in two forms. The alleged admissions at the scene as testified to by first responders and, of course, the two women that Karen Read was with. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Did I hit him? Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Right? And the statements made to the media in the clips that have been shown for the jury could be, and I'm sure will be argued by the prosecution, but could be evidence of a confession, right? So a confession is direct evidence of the collision, right? Yeah. So that's another way. The third way is the physical evidence, which is her tail light is broken and pieces of her tail light are at the scene, including some tiny pieces that the prosecution will argue were in his clothing. The witness who testified said they could be consistent with the tail light, but could not say they're absolutely from the taillight, but there were small red shards of plastic that were found, shards in the clothing of John O'Keefe, allegedly, if you believe the chain of custody, etc. But that's going to be their argument. So of those three, which do you believe is the strongest argument, most persuasive argument that the prosecution would have to attempt to prove that there was a collision, thus satisfying the first element of this allegation?
Jonesy, go first.
Okay, so I think her own words, but by the same token, I think of was it DuPont with the TV special? I think about when you say something like "Did I do it?" or "I did it." There could be sarcasm. Doesn't necessarily mean that I did it, and that's the way I felt about that. But as Al pointed out, without her saying that's what she meant, there's a conundrum there.
See, it's interesting from the standpoint of the defense as to those statements. I don't know why they didn't go in for completeness and be able to, bring in the stuff that was said around it or whatever, so you get a full context of what was being said at the time. I think that they may have done it that way, so this way here, hoping that the jury would kind of forget about it and move on. All right. But I'm going to stick with what I said to start off the show. I think the experts are going to cross themselves out, and I think it's going to come down to her statements and the witnesses' statements at the scene, and the fact that there were
at the scene. So not so much the TV interview.
The TV is also going to come. I said that her statements on television and also at the scene. Okay, I think they're both going to kill her, in the sense that they're not going to be. It's not going to be very.
So you find that, but on this specific question regarding whether or not there was a collision, you believe that's the most persuasive argument by prosecutors, her own words over the physical evidence and over the experts,
because no one countered them, and that's my problem. My problem is that those statements are out there, they're in the air, they were stated, they were said. Jonesy brought up about the fact it could have been facetious, didactic. It could have been, it wasn't necessarily, confused maybe with what was going on. None of that comes out, and none of that can be inferred by the jury, because it was never demonstrated to the jury. So that is going to be a big problem. And the fact that there is physical evidence there at the scene that can be tied to her vehicle, those are going to be the two aspects that a jury could hang their hat on.
Which one is stronger? You can only pick one of the three. This is multiple choice. There's no all of the above.
I didn't know. I didn't know I was going to have to be multiple choice on that. That it has
which is the strongest?
The testimony, and the statements. Those are.
I love multiple choice. It makes things so much easier.
Yeah. Which of the three, Jonesy? Is he stronger? Now, listen. When you answer the question and say which one's the strongest, it doesn't mean that you're saying that it proves it beyond a reasonable doubt. But of the three ways that they're going to attempt to prove it, which of those three do you believe is the most persuasive?
Her own words.
Her own words.
And that is what is going to be the focus, I believe, of the Commonwealth's closing argument.
Yeah. So here's where I am on that. And because that first jury heard that evidence. The first jury heard that evidence, and it wasn't enough. But this time, they've also got the television interviews. I personally believe, and again, none of us are saying that it's enough to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt necessarily. But of those three ways, because those are the only three ways they can prove this collision, I think the physical evidence is the most persuasive, because in order to undermine that, and they were successful in the first trial with at least some of the jurors, but the only way you undermine that is with evidence that evidence was planted.
Right.
And they didn't go as far in this trial as they did last time.
No, surprisingly.
I spoke with the juror last year who was on the side of Karen Read, who deliberated, and he was not convinced that the evidence was not planted there. He felt that was still very possible and plausible. And the way it played out in the first trial, I mean, it was much different. The inverse video was presented. That didn't happen this time. Trooper Proctor was on the stand. I mean, he was so much of a bigger central figure in all of it, which to me gave the jury and that juror something to hang his hat on, that like there's something wrong with this guy. We saw him in court, and yeah, I think it's a reasonable belief that someone, including him, may have planted the evidence here. There was less evidence from the defense about the potential planting of evidence this time, which I think second time around elevates that evidence. And I could see potentially that's where the jury may go and say, well, where's the evidence in this trial, right? Because this jury only sees the evidence in this trial. And I just don't think that it resonated the same way it did first time around about just how ridiculous a lot of the things that Proctor did and said and the timeline, even him, like, because he got cross-examined about changing the time of when he seized the vehicle, and it just played so much larger first time around. Like some of that evidence kind of got in the back door a little bit. It doesn't have the same weight as it did in that first trial. So I think when you look at the three ways, it's the physical evidence more so than her words or the experts. I think the experts, I agree with you, Al, I think they're in third. I think they're in third. I don't think prosecution is winning battle of the experts. They need to, if they're going to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt, the causation, which is the collision, it's going to be either a jury believing that she confessed beyond a reasonable doubt, or believed that the physical evidence, there was no other way for it to get there, that there wasn't any proof of the stuff being planted. Not like last time. Like, you have to be honest in looking at the way the case, there are parts of the defense case that are stronger second time around, but this part is not stronger. It's weaker. It's
interesting that they really did. They put the brakes on the whole conspiracy theory and everything along those lines, which, you know, as you pointed out, that had some street cred at the time, and that had some that gave the jury cause for pause, and that's what you always want to do when you're the defense, is to give them a cause for a pause in what they're thinking, and that wasn't done. And it's just. It's very surprising to me that they had been so keen on that whole aspect of the conspiracy, and everyone who was putting their little comments out there attacking me
they're all in on it. Like
about that everything is a conspiracy and that this whole thing is fabricated. It was put together, and it's that the judge is in with this one and with that one and the other one. And that is every one of their defenses that they bring up is conspiracy, and the defense didn't use that.
The defense is not using it and that's what is resonating with the public. It's 80 to 90% of the public is Karen Read not guilty. But the public, a lot of the public, maybe not all of them, some maybe just came in for the second trial and they don't know everything, but the public saw the first trial. The public knows all the other evidence, but some of that didn't make its way into the second trial. And there's got to be a realization by everyone that this second trial was much, much different. I want to get to the second element. That's the first element. The second element is multiple choice, A, B, or C. It's clearly not A or B, because the prosecutor said it in his opening statement. This is not about she intended to harm him. She intended to him as in A and B, but it's C, intended to do an act which, in circumstances known to the defendant, a reasonable person would have known created a plain and strong likelihood that death would result. And here we're talking about throwing the SUV into reverse and basically gunning it up to 24 miles per hour, knowing that someone just got out of your vehicle.
And that's enough for that. And
that's enough for second degree red rum, which is crazy. It sounds more like manslaughter, but that's what it is under Massachusetts law. This is what they have to prove. Now, would a reasonable person know that by backing up, it's creating a plain and strong likelihood that death would result? I would argue no.
Well,
because he wasn't behind the vehicle. No one is saying he's behind the vehicle. If he's directly behind and it's a center body mass strike, yes. But I think they fail here. I think they fail miserably on the second element of second degree.
Well, I don't believe.
How would you know that putting it in reverse is going to create that strong likelihood if everyone agrees he's not standing behind the SUV?
But that's one of the problems I have with the way they graded this offense and the way that they put this to a grand jury, because I agree with you that C is manslaughter as far as I'm concerned. That's not second degree, okay? Because there's really no intent to hurt someone under the. And in the situation with regards to Now, taking everything into totality, the circumstances, the time of night, the alcohol intake, the weather situation, that may be, a heightened situation of you should have been more intelligent than doing what you did. But that's why we have manslaughter, and that's why we don't have second-degree murder on red rum on everything in this country. It's not. I don't think the second degree is even going to be on the table with this jury.
Yeah, I think it's done.
And in fact, to be honest with you, I would think that the state would be smart enough, the Commonwealth would be smart enough to basically just kind of.
They're not smart enough. Come on.
Gloss over that and go straight to the manslaughter aspect.
They won't. They won't.
I know they won't, but I'm just saying that's what I mean. A good prosecutor, knows when they, sometimes bad.
It's poisonal. It's poisonal. The DA, like if you lived in Norfolk County, would you be happy that the DA, who has a full staff, goes and hires someone from the outside, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, then spends $300,000 for a private performance of the Blue Man Group?
Well, and the sad part is you can actually get the Blue Man Group for about $25,000.
You can.
These days, you could probably get them for a lot less than that.
All right, let's go through a couple of things here before we fall way behind. Jennifer
Lego. They are franchised, which reduces the cost.
Interesting. We should hire them for our Christmas party this year.
Nah.
Oh, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna get Sugar Hill Gang for our Christmas.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Hey, Tangenistas, Lori Vallow Daybell guilty once again. Down goes Daybell. Down goes Daybell. Down goes Daybell.
And my money, I just put a bet on that she was going to be found not guilty. So shock to me.
Shock to you. It took 44 minutes. It was a very
24 minutes. Did the jury even leave the box? I mean, they basically could have gone in, hit the men's room, ladies' room, come back in, and just went, yeah, guilty. Simple.
That routine there, it's based on down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier, down goes Frazier. And we actually covered a case once where there was a Frazier and you used it. I wonder, it's used so often these days, I wonder how many people know the origins of that being, I believe, Howard Cosell calling a Frazier fight.
It was
Foreman Frazier.
Yeah. That was Foreman Frazier, right?
Yes.
I think so, because he went down like 3 times in that one.
Hey, this is from Kyle. Hey, everyone. Can you give my wife Libby a birthday shout out? We look forward to the tangents every week. You guys are the best. Al?
Oh, Lydia, that encyclopedia. Lydia, the tattooed lady.
Libby.
Happy birthday.
Libby. It says Libby on the label. You will like it on the table. Happy birthday, Libby.
Happy birthday, Libby. All right, 25 again. And we got Ann Williams. Hi, my favorite people. How are you, Albert? With a wink and a heart.
Oh my!
I'm much better now. I can tell you that.
Indeed. All right, let me just make sure. I don't want to fall so far behind because we're on a strict time frame today.
Well, you know what? While we're talking about birthdays, can I throw out a birthday wish also here? On this day in 1929, Anne Frank was born.
Really?
Yes. And on this day, wait. Since we brought a birthday wish up, I just want to let her know that she has the same birthday as Anne Frank. And also on this day in 1942, Anne Frank got her diary as a birthday present.
Ooh.
That became the famous Diary of Anne Frank.
Oh, okay. So it was blank when she got it, then she filled it out?
Oh, yeah, she actually picked out the one she wanted, and then her parents bought that for her, and that's what she got for her birthday present on this day in 1942, which at that point, the Germans were giving her people quite some hard time.
So did either of you gentlemen keep a diary as a child? I think it's more of a young girl thing myself.
Absolutely not. It is a very moving. It is something that needs to be read and needs to be taught.
No. I mean, I'm asking you guys if you ever kept a diary.
Oh, yeah, I have a diary.
Yeah.
No. Whatchamacallit? Ever since the song by Yaz called Diary, And
Yeah.
that's right. I said no because
That's a
somebody
good
could
one.
get into it and read everything.
I've
Yeah,
made it into a few diaries, from what I understand, but I had one once and I didn't know what to write. Seriously, like
George Blank, we were going to have you read it to some dramatic music. I don't have a diary, but speaking of birthdays, what did you guys think of the defense expert while on the witness stand wishing his son a happy 10th birthday?
Yeah, not a good point. Not a good move at all. I thought that was horrible.
also,
There's a time and a place for everything. That's not the time or the place.
well, part of the reason that's bad is because it seems to be that you're playing to a national or an international stage, as opposed to like the courtroom.
Now, if they said, rest in peace, Brian Wilson or Sly Stone, I wouldn't have had a problem with that.
That would be all
Can
right.
I tell you the scariest thing that happened? I was walking and someone said, I heard them say Sly
Stallone?
Stallone passed away, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
And then they said,
How did I think that would? It's funny because when you say it quickly, it just sounds like that. And
Yeah.
a lot of people said to me, because I was like, oh, I can't believe it, Sly Stone's that, and oh my God, Sly Stone, and I'm like, no, Sly Stone.
Yeah, it's still bad, but it would have been worse for me because I mean, that's Rocky. That's Rocky.
Yeah.
That's right. Hey, Larissa Harris has something that needs to be responded to. Disbar Brennan now. That's the special prosecutor. Nothing more to discuss. He is not credible, period. One and done. Wonder who is directing the judge. I have an idea. Case is common sense. Don't think too hard. So first of all, Brennan misrepresenting evidence in front of the jury, like completely misleading the jury. How bad is that? How bad is that when you stand up and tell the jury something that is 1,000% untrue about a piece of evidence?
That is a problem, and it comes back to haunt you, and it doesn't necessarily give you grounds to be disbarred, but certainly you could be punished.
You could be punished.
Let me ask you a question about that. One of the things I learned along the way, and it was from the OJ trial, if you believe or if it's proven that a witness is lying, you could disregard their entire testimony.
Well, that's false in one, false in all, but the prosecutor's not testifying.
Right, that was my question. If the same holds true for the prosecutor.
But it's interesting you should mention the OJ thing, because on this day in 1994, Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman were both Red Rum.
Civil rights and all the revolution fights. World War I and World War II. Well, always knows who is who. It's this day in history. This day in history. History. Now let's listen to his story.
All right, folks, we're going to go through it real quick because I know we don't have a lot of time, but June 12th, we're going to do our Revolutionary War Day in history, since this is our 250th anniversary of that. 1775, the first naval battle of the Revolutionary War took place in Maine at the Battle of Margaretta. Colonial ships were, not really, we didn't have a strong navy, so these were actually privateers that attacked a British ship, conquered it, and took all of its ammunitions and munitions out. So it's the first naval victory in U.S. history. Going to true crime history. On this day in 1962, a little thing happened called the Escape from Alcatraz, where three individuals, the Anglin brothers and Frank Morris, escaped from the prison that was deemed to have been impossible to escape from, second to only Devil's Island. And whether or not they actually got away is still a question that haunts us today. In 1977, the bodies of three young Girl Scouts were found in the Oklahoma Girl Scout Red Rum. Girls were 8, 9, and 10. Unfortunately, there was a suspect. The suspect went to trial. He was acquitted, and to this date, nobody knows who did this horrendous Red Rum.
Unsolved.
1994, Nicole Brown and Ronald Goldman were murdered in California, Red Rum in California. And in 2016, the Pulse nightclub massacre occurred. 49 people were red-rummed and countless others hurt. In history, okay, 1963, Medgar Evers was assassinated in Jackson, Mississippi by a white supremacist. And something I know Vinny is always happy to hear about, 1987, the line, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall." Ronald Reagan made his speech, and then shortly thereafter, the wall came down of East Germany. And I went over there for that. It was an incredible situation. I had actually been to East Germany when the wall was up, and good old Checkpoint Charlie and everything, and it was just an incredible situation.
What I don't know in the timeline of things, I don't know if he said that before or after he called my dad to appoint him to the federal bench.
All right, well, this was 87. So when did your father get appointed?
It was right around, well, yeah, it was right around 87 that he got the call.
Okay.
So,
all right, well, this was June. So if your father got called before June, and the answer is no, if it was after June, then it would have been yes. And so those are our history facts. As I said, Anne Frank's birthday is today.
Sal, do we lose Jonesy?
Oh,
say what?
Oh, okay. I think I froze here for just a second.
Oh, I have two comments. First of all, the Goldman Simpson red rum. The next morning, I called in to tell my boss I was going to be late, and she said, did you hear the news? And I'm like, yeah. She said, this is going to be our life for the next year. She was wrong. It was our life for the next 3 years or
3 years, because it went from all the pre-trial to the trial, which took a year, to then the civil trial afterwards. It was some story. Kay, thank you so much. Anticipating the verdict. Go ahead, Jonesy. What was number two?
Number two is Al. You probably don't realize it because you were hosting the moment, but the entire time you did the first part of your history, Vinny was doing the Macarena dance on screen.
Yeah, because he mentioned the Macarena, didn't he?
It was the Battle of Margareta.
Oh, I thought you said Macarena.
No. The Battle of Margareta in Maine, good old Maine.
All the reconstruction shows it's impossible that John O'Keefe would end up between the mailbox and flagpole. Trajectory and velocity do not lie. Here, and this is why the defense experts did the center of mass experiment at 29 miles per hour. I was trying to figure out why. I still don't know why they did it at 29. They should have done it at 24. But that's when they actually showed what it would take to send someone flying. So
that's a great line by Kathy. Trajectory and velocity do not lie. That's like a closing argument kind of thing.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, trajectory and velocity.
Trajectory and velocity.
Who is that?
That's what you got? You ever see Witness for the Prosecution?
No, I have not. No.
It's a very, very famous old movie, and the attorney, for the defense would talk like this. No, it's almost like Winston Churchill. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, velocity.
He sounds soused.
Well, I will tell you this: when you go to the courts in the English system, they all head at lunchtime across the way for a couple of pints before they go back to the courthouse. And that includes the judges and the barristers. Yeah. And they're all over there and they're drinking up a few pints and then they go back in and finish the case.
I could see Al practicing in England, but his teeth are just too straight.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. And that would be...
No offense to our viewers from overseas. It's just one of our American jokes that we make.
That's why they drink things like Guinness over there, because Guinness is got a lower alcohol level than a lot of American beers, I believe. But more importantly, each glass is like eating a loaf of bread.
Oh yeah.
So you're like eating at the same time. You're able to work.
Yeah, I so bad would love to have cameras in the courtroom in England. I would be so fascinated in their system, and they just don't allow. They don't even. Sometimes there's some cases where you can't even report on what's happening in the courtroom.
Yeah, no,
it's sad because it would be fascinating. There's some great true crime cases there, and the wigs, the pageantry, the accents, everything would. Oh my goodness!
I don't know if an American audience could handle that. Actually.
Oh yes, we could. We would love it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Witness for the Prosecution is a great old 1930s movie to watch to see that, but also a fairly recent movie called Denial, which deals with a battle on defamation. Is very interesting to watch.
Battle on defamation.
That's the denial of the Holocaust.
Oh, okay. Because Johnny Depp lost the defamation case over in the UK, but won here in the States. Nashley 66 points this out. This is amazing, right? April 1st, start of the trial. Friday the 13th, it all ends.
Wow.
Wow. There is something to that. Thank you for pointing that out. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. Okay, we are current. By the way, folks, we have an updated video on this, but we have great merch in the True Crime merch shop.
Hey everybody, I've got something for your body. You can wear it by yourself or with Frankie Valli. It's True Crime merch from Vinnie Originale. It's True Crime merch. It's True Crime merch. It's True Crime merch from Vinnie Originale. From Vinnie Originale.
We got great products here. We've got the person of interest. We've got, of course, the tangents. We've got the tangents, and we've got the
suitable for framing.
The bestseller, allegedly. It's all available. New products coming all the time. This weekend, I think I'll be in the shop sprucing things up a little bit. So keep an eye on it, there, folks. All right, let's get back to the matter at hand.
Okay.
If we would.
Sorry.
I'd want to get to manslaughter.
Yes.
Okay. The defendant is charged with motor vehicle homicide approved. Defendant of this offense must prove 5 things beyond a reasonable doubt. The defendant operated a vehicle, yes. Defendant did so in a public way, or the public has right of access, yes. Third one, that while operating a motor vehicle, the defendant was under the influence of intoxicating liquor. I think that's been proven. I mean, through the video, her own statements, and the blood draw from the next day, they can try to fight it. But I think that's pretty compelling, being under the influence. Fourth, that while operating, the defendant did so recklessly so that the lives or safety of the public might be endangered. That one I think is up in the air. That is, putting the car in reverse will be the argument there. I don't know. Was she making a K-turn? Because she came, the direction she was facing in front of the house was opposite of the way that she arrived. So to go back the way she arrived, potentially she would have to make a K-turn. To make a K-turn, you've got to put the car in reverse. So there's that. But she wasn't going back to downtown Canton. She was going over to John O'Keefe's house. So did she or did she not need to make a K-turn? That hasn't been established one way or the other.
No.
For me in this case. And I've always wondered that. I mean, the GPS, I think, can take you both ways. The GPS, when I did it, took me straight out, that she didn't have to make a K-turn. So,
a lot of times when I'm using, one of the apps like Waze, it will not tell me under any circumstances to make a U-turn or a K-turn. It will make me go around like numerous blocks in order to go in the right direction.
That's true. That's true. You're 100% true. They never want you to make a U-turn, or very rarely they'll just send you in the direction that you're facing. So that's a great point. That's a great point. How does it know which way you're facing?
I have no idea, especially when if you're using it on a phone and you're holding it.
Right.
Like, how does it know? I mean, I guess it knows which way the momentum is going. I don't know.
I don't know. How does it know which way I'm facing?
On Waze, you can use.
Who are these people?
You can use.
Oh, by the way, John, I forgot to answer your question before. The person that I was doing was Charles Lawton. Charles Lawton is the man in that movie. Right. Tyrone Power plays the defendant in the case.
And I was doing the Macarena.
Yes.
Tyrone Power is one of those names that, like, super famous, but I don't know anything about him. I would not be able to pick him out in a lineup.
Well, the movie is directed by Billy Wilder, and Billy Wilder
wow.
was a survivor of the Holocaust.
Was he really?
Yes, he was.
So I want to point this out on the fourth and fifth element here, because the fifth element is the causation again. That goes to the collision. I think the fourth element is also dependent upon a collision. Going in reverse is not necessarily recklessly for the lives or safety of the public being endangered if, in fact, John O'Keefe is not there. Like putting a car in reverse is not endangering people.
No, not in itself. I mean,
but if there's a collision, then arguably, yes. So it all comes back again to the same thing. Like the key to the whole case is the collision. And it's the most difficult thing for the prosecution to prove in this case. But if they prove the collision, then I believe they get this easily.
And that's why I don't know why they did not counter her statements.
Right.
I mean, and they didn't do a great job of knocking out the statements that were allegedly given to the rescue workers at the scene and her friends and things along those lines. That is going to be, I'm telling you right now, the experts, no one is going to be focusing.
No one's winning that?
No one's winning that. It's
here's the difference, though. Here's the difference. The prosecution expert didn't do any sort of reenactment or action reconstruct. He did the blue paint experiment and specifically said he couldn't try to recreate what happened. And by not being able to recreate what happened, do they fall short? Potentially, I think. But I also think there are pieces of what the defense expert did that the prosecution can cherry pick.
Well, and I know, and I wasn't able to hear all of it because I was in court today and just got back here in time. But I know that there was something that was going to be kept out. One of the experts in the defense side, one of their,
She couldn't testify that it was a dog. She could testify it was an animal. The marks.
Well, so that was exhibit KKKK or something like that.
I don't know.
I know there was something I thought that was done. I think it was something.
Exhibit KKK.
I know. I'm glad it was 4Ks.
It was 4Ks, and because
4K.
it was not the KKK took my baby away, which is a great Ramones song.
It is.
But there was something in the accident reconstruction that is not going to be given to the jury, that they denied it into evidence. I don't know exactly what. I was trying to find out. As I said, I was coming up from Atlantic County earlier today.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
What exit is that?
There was 36.
Ah.
So, and then, one of the things that, I hope we can get a little bit into, I know we don't have a lot of time, but is the jury instructions and, what is going to be told to the jury and things along those lines.
Part of what's going to be told to the jury are the elements of the crime that we're doing.
We are doing that, but I'm talking about also with regards to how you put weight on certain evidence and things along those lines. So, I think that the manslaughter case is the case that is going to be made, if anything.
But it's predicated upon the collision once again.
And that's why her words are going to come back to haunt her. And why those statements are going to come back to haunt her. And that is why I do not understand why they didn't go into the conspiracy thing and say that all these people were doing this because they're all in cahoots to try to pin it on an innocent woman.
It resonated with 3 jurors last time.
You know what's kind of interesting about that is, what you're referring to is something that happened before the court, as did the alleged crime and all that, right? But it's something that the 3 of us would have immediately, before the trial even began, say was a mistake by the defendant to do a television interview in the first place, to get out there and put things on record. That's just basic. It's basic, simple as that.
No,
Well, I do believe, and I'm not sure. I mean, with the access that the documentary crew had, I'm wondering if there was some level of payment for that to help
that's always a
fund
that
the
that
defense.
generally there is. I mean, usually you don't go on if you're trying to raise money for your defense. The last thing you do is go on for free.
So
And
I always thought like in a news situation, it's unethical, right?
Well, it's a documentary.
But if it's a documentary, then
it's ethical.
you can do what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, but don't forget that ABC funded that woman down in Central Florida. They gave her $250,000, and she gave the money to Jose Baez, her attorney.
And that, like I said, when you are looking for money,
Or TV never pays. Correct, Al? We've never paid you a dime.
no, believe me, do I know they don't pay. And if they do, they offer you a third-party post-dated out-of-state check, which is very interesting to try to get that cashed at any place that's not owned by a guy named Rocky or Vito is very, very difficult.
I used to get a check from Court TV every 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, I thought we got paid weekly, very weekly. I still got it. Michael Donahue. Why did I say it like that? Michael Donahue.
Come on down.
Michael Donahue. They proved that his phone never moved from that spot. If he went in the house, it would have shown steps back out to where he was left in the snow. So Mikey D is very compelled by that piece of evidence, the Apple Health data showing the steps. There are 36 steps, but where were those 36 steps? Were those in and out of the house? Were those in the house, or were those pacing back and forth? But if you believe Ian Whiffen, the expert, then the phone never gets into the house. His opinion was it never got into the house. Some of his graphs, though, with the circles did include the house. But Michael, thank you so much. Great point. And my guess is that will be a huge part of the prosecutor's closing argument on Friday the 13th.
Which is a great, great movie. Also filmed in the state of New Jersey at Camp Nobi Bosco.
It has become a big thing, right?
Oh, some people were asking why my father was talking to Ronald Reagan on the phone. I guess I left part of that out. Did I?
Didn't everybody?
I was ordering some lasagna.
No.
Reagan was ordering lasagna.
My father was a lawyer and then became a federal judge appointed by Ronald Reagan. So Ronald Reagan called his office to get him on the phone to formally say, I'm going to nominate you to the federal bench. My father, he called it the wrong time. He called it lunchtime. Like, my father's not going to be in the office at lunchtime. He was down at Angelo's eating the calamari.
And Lyndhurst.
He had Belmont.
You can't go wrong with Angelo's and Lyndhurst. Still there, by the way.
Still there. Angelo's not. He was a great man.
Oh, Angelo was a sweetheart. I really was.
Yeah. So what happened was there was a headline in the local paper, calamari left cold. And then it told the story of how my father's secretary called Angelo's. Then my father got in a car. He drove back to the office and then had to call back the White House to talk to the president.
By the way, the mayor at that time was Mayor Gaida, and he just passed away.
Oh. And by the way, that's the only time my father has ever left a plate of calamari.
Ever.
More importantly, this joint was in Lyndhurst?
Yeah, that's where my father's office was in
I'm
Lyndhurst.
surprised I don't know it because I grew up in Kearney, which is 15W.
Angelo's was there forever. It was the place to go. All the mockers of the legal world in that part of Bergen County all ate at Angelo's.
My father ate there 3 times a week. Come on. He went there, he went to Maschio's, and he went to one other place. I forgot the name of it. Every day.
Tavern, perhaps?
How about the Castros in Newark?
He was always usually in Bergen, always in Bergen. All right. 1 second, folks. We've got something really important to do here.
Oh.
Let me just track this down, track it down. Oh.
Thank you, April Diaz. Have a great day today. Thank you, April Diaz. We appreciate everything you say. We all know she's a great fan, and we know the kind words she has. We always love to hear from you. Thank you, April Diaz.
Ah, the wonderful April Diaz. Thank you so much. X and O's to my three handsome guys and to my favorite chattered below. All hearts. Also, Vinny, what are you drinking at the end of VPI? So at the end of the program, Vinnie Politan Investigates, which is a live program, I'm going to prove it, dropping a video. Get ready, folks. I'm dropping the wardrobe change video.
What?
Yeah, we rolled on it.
You're going to be naked?
8 o'clock and the 9 o'clock show, I changed my clothes. This week, we recorded it. I'll be dropping that video.
The man's going to be naked as a jaybird.
Yeah.
Don't look, Ethel. Ethel?
So it's water, April. It's water. I have water in my official Vinnie Politan Investigates mug, and that's what I drink at the end. And I drink it throughout the program, right, just to keep my, just like I do here. I'm always drinking something because I'm talking so much. But it's like when there's communion, right? When you have who's Jones? You're not Catholic, are you?
I am not, but I just saw a blue bottle, and I couldn't help but think of the Leon Spinks Muhammad Ali fight when they switched to the blue bottle. But go ahead.
So when they're done with communion and there's a little bit of wine left at the end, the priest always has to chug it. Right? He's got to pour it.
They put the water in. They put the water in, and then they do the old swirl, and
he's got to drink all of it. He's got to down the rest of it. So that's what I do at the end of my show because I've got to pack up my stuff. So I chug the rest of the water. And there are some nights where I haven't had as much during the hour, and it's like a big, big gulp.
You're saving the stagehand from having to pick up a full or a half.
Exactly.
You're missing the point. The show is like a religious experience. That's how I see it. It's like a religious experience. Okay.
All right. Thank you, April Diaz. Cat TV, not guilty by reasonable doubt. Love you guys.
Oh, thank you.
That is one sweet looking kitty.
Yeah, I love the patch. That's so cool. All right, I just want to make sure we're current because we're very quickly running out of time again. It's just so difficult to get this all in. We had to go late today because Al was in court. He's a working attorney, folks, not one of these fugazis who doesn't go to court. He actually goes to court, represents people, right? Only the innocent. You represent only the innocent.
That's
it's
right.
Fugazi, not I always thought it was Fugazi.
It is Fugazi.
Well, Fugazi is actually the pronunciation of the great punk rock band from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Fugazi.
And I've actually always wondered if they it was tongue-in-cheek that they called themselves that because they were a throwback to a different era of punk.
Yes.
And a tremendous band they were.
And by the way, Gen X, reminding folks that we've got great Karen Read Retrial breakdowns and commentary on closing arguments, and Vinnie Politan Investigates, all beginning tonight at 8 o'clock. Check local listings.
For what?
Well, if it begins at 8 o'clock and it's on Court TV, why do I have to check the local listings?
Check local listings because
I do that anyway.
You may be in a different time zone and it may be different for you. So you've got to check local listings.
Very valid.
It's always important. And a big thanks to Gen X, of course, part of our amazing #1 mod squad.
Order in the chat. Order in the chat. Don't dare attack. We've got order in this chat. The mod squad is on the job, helping us to keep it clean. The mod squad is on the job, always so nice and never mean.
All right, big thanks to Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Sube on the YouTube, and Ashley Bouchard in the Wild Wild West of Facebook. Thank you so much.
Oofa.
All right, Johnny Knoxville, Daniel Wolf from ACA was outstanding. Easy to understand. The doubt is obvious.
Ooh.
So, all right, you said it's going to be. So you don't think the defense can win the battle of the experts? Because
I don't think either side. I think the experts are going to be.
Oh, wait, Al. I didn't finish my question. Objection. Let me finish my question.
Objection overruled.
Oh, thank you.
It's supposed to be sustained, Jones.
It was the first thing that came out. I just wanted to make a ruling.
I won.
You ruled for Al.
Yeah.
So
thank you. That envelope will be back where it always is.
But the question is, Al, in a battle of the experts, technically, don't the defense experts just have to raise a reasonable doubt, not actually prove it? Just make it a reasonable explanation.
Except that the problem is going to be, as I said before, everything that comes down on the experts is going to be the bada boom, bada bing, bada bang, and it's going to cross out. I don't think the experts are going to sweat, even though from the standpoint that I agree with you, I think that the defense did an excellent job with the use of their experts. Excellent. Okay. And I think that they were able to punch holes in that, but it comes down to what the jury is going to be fixated on. Right. And as far as I'm concerned, admissions are great fixation tools. They're splendid. Okay. And there are a vast number of them in this case. Okay. Enough to hang my hat on if I'm looking to try to convict. And I'm not saying that I agree that she should be. I'm not saying she shouldn't be. I'm saying that if I'm sitting in the juror's box, the experts is mumbo jumbo, paid. They dance with the one who brought you. The words and the deeds. That's where I'm going to be hanging my hat.
Words and deeds.
Words
the Al Lunch story.
That's exactly right. That'll be
all right. We are officially out of time. I've got to get ready. I've got a big show tonight from 8 to 10 on Court TV. Your front row seat to justice. Let me just check my messages. Make sure I'm not missing anything here. Real quick. Okay. Always have to check. Things break at late in the day. So Al, where can folks find you if they're looking for you?
I know a lot of people were very upset I was not on closing arguments last Monday. I will be back on this Monday. I had a charity celebrity golf outing, and I shot 2 over par. So.
And what'd you do on the second hole?
But I was able to get it. At the end of it, I was able to get it in that windmill, so I got a free game.
Fantastic. Joe, where can folks find the radio legend?
Wait, one first. Hasta la vista, Los Angeles.
I'll be DJing live at a place called Ghost Hawk Brewing across from Rutt's Hot Dogs in Clifton on Saturday from 6 to 10 p.m. Nice early show so you can be home on time for the honeymooners.
Another reason why I hate being stuck out of Jersey days like this, Jonesy, where we would head over. We would be there.
Who'd stop us?
Couldn't stop us. All right, folks, you'll see me on Court TV tonight, 8 o'clock, every night, 2 hours of live true crime. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Thank you for watching, and say goodnight, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
See all of you in court. Somebody say tangent, tangent. Somebody say podcast, podcast. Tangent, tangent. Podcast, podcast. This is the Tangent Podcast.